A bunch of personality-fueled robots kicking each other's ass for 2 hours. How can you possibly screw that up?
Hi, I'm Michael Bay, director of Hollywood hits such as Transformers.
Oh yeah. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to my review of the newest Transformers film, Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Now, to set the stage properly, I need to let all of you know that I am not the target audience for this film. I did not grow up playing with the Transformers or watching the cartoon. I missed that generation by a couple of years. I was born in 1990, so while all of you guys that were born in the 80s were all about Transformers and G.I. Joes, I was all about Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. Never watched the cartoon or the movie that came out based off of the cartoon. My first introduction to Transformers was back in 2007 when Michael Bay dropped the first film. And I really did enjoy that first movie. I haven't seen it in probably 15 years, but I liked it a lot when it first came out. Did not like Revenge of the Fallen, and from all of the general consensus about those movies not getting very much better and getting significantly worse in 3, 4, and 5, I had never seen a Transformers film after the second one. Now, I did take the time yesterday afternoon to check out Bumblebee because I assumed this was a direct sequel to that, and it's really not. It has nothing to do with Bumblebee, but luckily I did think that it was because Bumblebee was actually a pretty enjoyable movie. And so I got a little bit excited to see what this movie was going to have, being that it was going to be all the Transformers together again. It was the director of Creed 2, which I'm a big fan of, and seemingly they would learn the lessons of how all of us praise Bumblebee and pretty much shit on all the ones that came before it. Now, this movie takes place in 1994, and essentially you have all the Transformers grouped back up again to go and find this mysterious key that is going to open up this portal and allow them to leave Earth and get back to Cybertron. And of course, there is an evil version of the Transformers that is also trying to get a hold of the key for their own nefarious purposes. And tied up in all of this, you've got this young guy who has a sick brother, and he is somewhat of a disgraced soldier, even though they only briefly mention that, and he is down on his luck. He can't find a job, can't get any money, can't do anything to protect his brother or pay his brother's medical bills. And in the middle of trying to steal a car, he steals a Transformer. And then alongside a young girl his age that is just a whiz about archaeology and hieroglyphics gets inserted into this world domination plot. Really quick before we dive into the good, bad, and ugly of Transformers Rise of the Beasts, Father's Day is just around the corner, and if you're looking for an awesome gift for dad that also looks like it probably has the functionality of a Transformer, then check out the sponsor of today's video, Ridge Wallets. Getting a great gift for your dad can sometimes be hard, but if yours is anything like mine, a lot of his daily use items are completely stuck in the past. Namely, his wallet. Well, Ridge has completely redefined the wallet, and lucky for us, they are giving one of the biggest sales of the year for Father's Day, making gifting easy. The Ridge wallet expands to hold up to 12 cards plus room for cash, while remaining as slim as possible, unlike all of those old, bulky dad wallets. And there's over 30 different colors and styles to choose from, including carbon fiber, burnt titanium, forged ember, and burnt Damascus. There's even optional AirTag attachments, so you never lose your wallet again. And there's other great add-on attachments available as well, like this money clip attachment or this nifty little coin tray, so you can always keep some spare change on you. And the Ridge wallet is also designed with RFID blocking material so that you're safe from all of those digital pickpockets. Also available are the Ridge key cases, which hold up to 6 keys securely and keep them from jingling around in your pocket like the stirrups of an old Western. And you can even save up to 30% off of your order when you order the Ridge wallet and the key case together. Ridge has over 3 million customers and over 50,000 5-star reviews. And they are so confident that you're going to love it that they will let you test drive it for 99 days. If you don't like it, you can send it back for a full refund. But if you do like it, you can keep it with confidence knowing that this is made with durable material that comes with a lifetime warranty. Find the best Father's Day gift using my link, ridge.com/Cody Leach, and right now you can save up to 40% through June 15th. That's ridge.com/Cody Leach. And thank you so much to Ridge for sponsoring today's video. So starting off with the positives, if you go to these movies to see big, gigantic robots kick the shit out of each other for 2 hours, you're gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of this one. There is a ton of action. It is shot and done really well. You can see everything that is going on. You can always distinguish between which characters are beating up who, where some of the previous films just look like a bunch of colored metal just scrambling each other on screen. And being that you have a variety of Transformers here with your classic Transformers, with the Beast Transformers and with the villainous Transformers, and forgive me for not knowing the different names, because like I said, I did not grow up with these cartoons. The good guys, the bad guys, and the animal robots. When you have all of them on screen, there's a nice visual variety of who's kicking the shit out of who. I also thought that the CGI and the design of all of the different robots was pretty damn awesome, and after just getting out of The Flash, and I do have a full review for that, so please check that out, where I was actually really disappointed in the quality of a lot of that CG. The CGI utilized in this movie was incredibly convincing, and all throughout the film, whether it's explosions or robot action or going into space, no matter what they were doing in the computers, all of it had the same level of quality. There's also some really solid humor in this movie. I got quite a few chuckles. My theater especially laughed even more than I did, and you guys that have been following me for a while know I'm a pretty hard audience for humor, and I will call that out immediately if I think the jokes suck. And not all of them landed, for sure, but the ones that did all got a pretty sizable chuckle out of me and my fellow moviegoers. And a lot of the best humor actually came from Mirage, which is kind of the main robot, this one, the one that has the main relationship with the human protagonist, kind of taking the Bumblebee role like the last film. And I was surprised to find out afterwards that it was actually voiced by Pete Davidson, because I'm not the biggest Pete Davidson fan, don't hate the guy, but I've never found him to be all that funny. And his voice work here and his comedic timing is actually pretty damn good.
Back up! Oh, I thought we were boys!
And all the other voice acting is great too. Of course, Peter Cullen is just iconic as Optimus Prime. I don't even have to be a Transformers fan to know that. That voice is just... that's Optimus Prime. That's a voice that defines a generation to a certain degree. And even some of the other characters like Optimus Primal that is voiced by Ron Perlman. You got Michelle Yeoh in here, just a stacked list of recognizable voices, and all of them do a really good job at bringing their characters to life. And finally, while this is gonna sound like an odd positive, an odd compliment to the movie, it's more so just kind of a reassurance for those of you that had to suffer through the last few movies. This thing moves fairly quickly. It's just about 2 hours, so it's a very forgiving runtime, and you can tolerate a lot of the human storyline that is going on, which was the main handicap from what I understand for a lot of the previous films, is that you just want to see the robot stuff, and most of the 3 hour plus runtimes of those was focused on a bunch of dumb human characters that you don't care about. Don't really have that problem in this movie. But with that being said, my one mixed element is the two human leads. Now, they're both perfectly fine to lead this movie. You have the character of Noah, who's basically the main character, and then you have another character, Elena, that kind of comes through about a third to halfway through the film as the secondary human character. And while Noah and the actor that portrays him is certainly capable of leading, he has a pretty good personality, and his back and forth camaraderie with Mirage especially is some of the better elements of the movie, I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities in his character arc, to where they bring up from the very beginning of the movie that he's got this brother who is suffering from an illness, and they're very down on their luck. They're very poor, and so they don't have the money to be able to give him the treatment that he needs, and they have this very tight brotherly bond. And they quickly kind of abandon all of that and just hook him up with this random chick that he doesn't know just because she has this archaeological knowledge, and then they kind of become the focus of the rest of the film. And to be honest, I mean, Elena as a character is pretty thin, and I don't think that their chemistry is all that great. So focusing on those two for the rest of the film was a giant missed opportunity when they already had a very solid brother bond and a brother story and arc right there that they just kind of abandoned. Now, I understand the logistical issue of having an ill little kid go on this globe-trotting adventure with all these massive dueling robots, but just on a narrative side, I felt like that was the much more interesting aspect to the lead character, Noah, and they don't really bring it up again until like the last 10 minutes of the movie, and it just felt like that could have made the storyline so much better throughout. There's also another element of his character that gets brought up in the first 10 minutes or so of the film that is never brought up again, and it's the fact that he is like a disgraced soldier. He either went AWOL or he had a dishonorable discharge. They never really get into what it is. There's just like this job interview that he goes for where they deny him because of something that he did in the military. And he's like, I had to leave. I had family obligations. You don't understand. And so the fact that they don't get into what exactly happened there to establish that as a part of his character was frustrating. But the journey that he goes on and becoming a part of this team with the Transformers and, you know, teaming up with them to save the world. And that's a pretty integral piece of his character that would have been something that is relevant to the rest of the plot of the movie. And so the fact that they bring it up and then don't explore it at all was also frustrating. It was like they had a really solid, interesting main character that you would not mind and actually enjoy following alongside the Transformers characters, and yet all of the interesting pieces of him, they just left on the table and just made him generic human guy throughout most of the movie. And now moving on to the negatives, and the story, the narrative of this film is incredibly generic. You have robots that want to go find this thing, this MacGuffin item. Good guys and bad guys searching for this thing. And so that's most of your movie. And then when they find the thing and the villains get a leg up, now it becomes, oh shit, there's this giant beam of light shooting into the sky. We gotta beat the shit out of the bad guys to stop the big beaming light. Does that sound familiar? Because I've seen that like 25 times before. Now, I'm sure a lot of people don't go to Transformers films for deep storytelling or thematic elements or anything like that, but I walk into every movie with at least some expectation of a compelling story, and that's where this movie lets me down the most. Luckily, it delivers on everything else that you come for, namely the robot action, and the reason that most people would go to a Transformers film for, but when you got a 2-hour runtime, even though it's more forgiving than a 3-hour runtime, you gotta have something else besides metal crunching on metal. I was also a little disappointed that the Beast characters were not a bigger focus here. They introduce the movie and then they don't come back into the fray until like the last half. The main Transformers are still the stars of the show, as they should be, I guess, but if you're going to market this as Rise of the Beasts, and most of the trailers that I have seen was focusing on Optimus Primal and those Beast Wars characters, I think the fans of those characters are going to want them to be more of a focus than they actually end up being in the finished film. And my final negative, which is absolutely just a me thing, this is my own personal pet peeve, and some people might not ever care or even notice some of these issues, but this movie's supposed to take place in 1994. That is the era that I grew up in. I was born in 1990, and it annoys the shit out of me whenever they try to do a 90s throwback and they get it completely wrong. Namely, music choices that weren't out in 1994. There is so much of this movie where it's like this classic 90s hip hop and rap, and you listen to it and you're like, that's 1995. That's 1996. And even just relying specifically on music to do all of the heavy lifting for putting it back into a certain era always feels lazy to me, where you have characters going around and they're humming certain songs that have only been out for a few months, and it's like, would that really be the big pop culture zeitgeist of the time, going around and humming TLC? I don't think so. You get a mention of Sonic and Tails, you get a mention of the little brother trying to beat one of the Mario games, but at no point does this movie feel like 1994. And so when you get a lot of movies that are really good at capturing the 70s and the 80s, and for me, movies continuously fuck up the 90s, it just gets on my nerves. Like, put a little bit of effort into it, or just don't set it in the 1990s. And if you have people that are getting paid millions of dollars to make these movies, for the love of Christ, pull out Google once in a while for your song choices and make sure that it's actually right. Or just change it to 1996, like it fucking matters. 90s kid rant over. Anyway, overall, guys, I enjoyed this film. I'm not the target audience for it, and yet I still had a pretty good time for it. So if you are the target audience for this, and you have all that built-in nostalgia for Transformers and Beast Wars and all the different things this movie's going for, you might even have a better time with it than I had. I didn't think it was as good as Bumblebee, and I haven't seen the original Transformers recently enough to say if it's better than that, but it is a solid Transformers film that you, as well as your kids, will probably have a good time with. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Please, if you enjoyed that, click over here for the 2023 new release reviews so far. Also going to put my review of The Flash that's up here. Be sure to check out Ridge Wallets and snag that gift for Dad on Father's Day down in the video description. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.